Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ARM Institute webinar series. We will get started in a few minutes, give everyone a chance to connect. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, why don't we get started? Again, this is ARM Institute. This is our ARM Exchange Public Webinar Series. Today, we will be talking about our new national capability, roboticscareer.org. And to kick us off, we want to show you a quick video that lets you know a little bit more about how we plan on using this national capability. Okay, give me 1 second.
A recent report by the Manufacturing Institute showed that nearly 500,000 exciting, well-paying manufacturing jobs are currently unfilled. This intrigues Sam, who'd love to find a meaningful career that he can be proud of. But this is what Sam pictures when he thinks of manufacturing. While today, it's more like this. That same study found that by 2025, the number of unfilled manufacturing jobs could spike to well over 3 million. With so much opportunity, Laura finds it hard to believe that students aren't flocking to the educational institute where she works. How does she find Sam to tell him about their amazing programs? Other sources predict that industry growth, combined with pending retirements over the next decade, could negatively affect manufacturing output in the United States, unless employers can find enough people with the technical skills to work in their modern, automated factories. This is not good news for Darius, a manufacturer who needs good workers to keep pace with demand. But how does Darius find out about Laura's programs that can upskill his existing workers and help him connect with Sam? Only roboticscareer.org connects people with industry-vetted education programs for a career in robotics. The connections built here will create the U.S. manufacturing workforce needed for today's factories and those of the future.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so why don't you get started talking a little bit more about what led to us developing this national capability?
Okay, great. So as everybody knows, we're a manufacturing institute, a national organization. And so we're trying to look at a holistic approach of how do we satisfy some of the needs for our manufacturers. And some of the key challenges that we're starting to identify solutions in support of is the fact that the U.S. education system currently is insufficient in the moving people through the career pathways of Industry 4.0 careers. There's a continued negative perception of robotics in manufacturing, one that robots are taking jobs, and the other is that many years ago, people were told, don't go into manufacturing because those jobs are dirty, dull, dangerous. Those jobs are going away overseas. And so it's hard to overcome the plethora of negative perceptions. Small and medium manufacturers have limited resources to prepare their talent. When they take somebody off the line to get them into training, that's loss of productivity for them. And they're trying to use every dollar to improve their manufacturing processes rather than investing in training and moving people forward in their career pathways. The manufacturing workforce has continued to consider, once they hone in on a skill, they'll always get better at that skill. But there's a perception that we have to help change, that it's now a lifelong learning journey. The organizations will not be moving people forward in their careers. Annette, can you go back one, please? They're not able to keep them in the same pathway because the technology is changing so quickly that those jobs will have to change as new processes and new automations are brought into the manufacturing floor. There's very little coordination between initiatives related to Industry 4.0. So we've got a lot of redundant programs being created, and everybody's staying at a slow pace. So as a national institute, we want to see how we can move these initiatives to support one another to bring the state of the practice forward more rapidly. And then finally, I would say the biggest problem that is covering all of these is the fact that technology is really outpacing the skills development. And so it's creating this huge gap in individuals being ready to take on those new technological jobs within the manufacturing world. Next one, please, Annette. Okay, so how can ARM help address these challenges? Our key efforts when we first started were about what kind of training and certifications should be out there. And it became very apparent to us quickly that there isn't any one source for organizations to find what training is out there related to Industry 4.0. And that was one of the big requests that we had from our membership and our key stakeholders in the government. And so we decided from the workforce side, we want to lead that national effort to be able to move those pathways forward, strengthen the supply chain through a better set of workforce capabilities. The other thing that we're focused on, as I said earlier, is helping people to understand, if it's now a lifelong learning journey, what are those key skills and the skill profiles necessary for people to understand what opportunities are for them and what their employers need for them to move forward. So we're helping them to understand these critical competencies and the necessary building blocks. I'll show you that in just a slide or two, how we help to make sense of that. Understanding that these skills are emerging and the individuals need to adapt as new competencies become prevalent inside of their manufacturing processes. And then finally, the national directory of what educational resources are out there, whether it be online or local to them, so that they can then map those educational resources to those career pathways. Next slide, please. All right, so this is something that we've been capturing along the way. These are the early insights that we received, and we continue to refine based on those challenges and the focus groups and the workshops that we're doing with our general set of stakeholders. So there's no key capability out there right now promoting the robotic careers in manufacturing. There are a lot of career sites, Indeed, and other programs that maybe are inside of a school, but there's nothing really promoting those robotic careers. So that's an area, that's a gap that we decided early on that we needed to stand in. There's no national capability to recognize those programs. We want to be able to help the training programs while helping the students and the employers. And there's no one site that focuses on all of those audiences at the same time. There is no definitive source to define and communicate what competencies and skills are out there. And so with our experts and our membership, that's one thing that we've created. There's very little consistency among job titles and job descriptions, And so if somebody is looking to move from an organization to another organization, it's likely called something different within the robotic technician competencies. And so we're trying to put a common definition together for those job titles and job descriptions, which we'll talk about a little bit later this afternoon. And we want to help people understand which of the programs are best suited for them to move them forward in their manufacturing robotics career. We don't want to be prescriptive. We want to show people that they come in at any part of the pathway, and we have a way to move them on to the next level and to figure out where their entry points are. There's no easy way for employers and education providers to identify and respond to each other's needs and strengthen their respective business. That's one of the biggest things that the employers told us is, I don't know how to create the job descriptions, and I don't know how to find the training programs. And so I bring a training program in, and it may not be relevant for everybody working as a technician. So how do I pinpoint exactly what I need to bring in-house or to send my staff to? And then finally, one of the biggest requests was, how do I really know what's the best of the best? And so we've got a program that Linda will talk about called our Endorsement program, where we actually audit the training programs, and we give them a seal of approval if they meet certain requirements of the audit, where they can then use that on their website and their collateral, and they are highlighted in the roboticscareer.org platform. Next one, Annette. All right. So again, I want to reinforce we're all smart people here, but we don't create things in Pittsburgh and presume that it's the right thing for everybody else. And so this really is consortium driven. We've got 300 member organizations, as well as many stakeholders within the government and within our ecosystem to help drive this national capability. It's a way, as I said, to guide those employers to identify those Industry 4.0 competencies that are specific to their needs and how their technicians can help to support their assembly lines. It's also a way to help the employers find those resources in the region that can move people forward. They're having a really difficult time trying to find individuals to meet the next level needs at a more specialized level. And most of the time they need to build them up. And so we're trying to help them find the training that can build those individuals into stronger sets of capabilities through our competency framework. It's a way to show the employers and employees and the students which programs are available through that lifelong learning journey. It's intimidating enough to have to think about it being a lifelong learning journey. We want to make it as easy for them as we possibly can. It's a key way for us to map the competency building blocks to those available assets in the programs within the regions. When we do the demo, you'll see it's very specific to say, if you're moving forward in mechanical systems, for example, and that is a core competency, here are the programs that actually have mechanical systems capabilities that you would come out being able to serve your employer better or to find a new job. And then finally, the two key things across our membership that were very important is that they want to enhance collaboration. It is very difficult for a school to create a new program, get the students and graduate them before the technology changes. And so they're looking for enhancements regionally. So perhaps a community college and a vocational program might be able to team up to move people forward more rapidly so that they're not creating things and wasting money and time that might compete. And then finally, this is a system in those regions where it helps us all identify those critical gaps. So we're able to then reinvest to fill those gaps across the competencies that are necessary for the manufacturers. Annette, the next slide, please. All right, so we're not going to go through each of these capabilities or these competencies, excuse me, but I want to show you how we came together with our consortium. we had hundreds of competencies when we all came together, and we worked for several days to narrow them down and put them in these buckets. We were very deliberate to leave them as building blocks and to not attach them in any certain pathway that is required, because these building blocks will change. As technology changes so rapidly, these building blocks are going to change. And we also want it to be a way for individuals to pick which stepping stones are the right ones for them, as well as for their employers. The other key thing here, a lot of organizations forget to look at those essential soft skills of their employees, and in manufacturing in particular, very, very key to make sure that the individuals can perform not only the technical job, but also can ensure that they've got the leadership skills or the teaming skills to be successful in that role. Next slide, please. All right, so here's how we made sense of those. We looked at some of the foundational competencies, as you see here in green at the bottom of your screen. Those are the things that most of the robotic technicians would be performing. We're not saying that everybody has to have all of those skills to be successful at the robotic technician level. This is a guidebook for individuals getting on their way to their career pathways. The next is the robotic specialist. That's whenever somebody's been in the trade for a little while and they've got natural aptitude for things, and they can start to hone in on more specialized skills and advance in their career pathway. And then finally, the robotics integrator. These are not the individuals that you hire in to consult and to help you put a robot in your manufacturing floor. These are the individuals inside of your organization who support the external robotic integrators, and they make sure that the new systems and your new automation decisions are moving you forward to more productive levels, and making sure as things change that they're helping those systems change with it. So those are individuals inside of your organization, not the integrators that you hire externally. The next one, please, Annette. All right, and so as we said, a quick snapshot at those career pathways based on the robotic technician needs. We've got the technician, the specialist, and the robotic integrator. Next one. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Susie Teal.
Thank you, Lisa. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon at our webinar. We're all very excited about providing this information about the work that we've done. So everything that Lisa had talked about and all the challenges that she referred to have culminated into the introduction of this national capability, which we're calling Roboticscareer.org. So as Lisa mentioned, this is something that we've developed in partnership with our member consortium. We've got over 300 members, organizations across the United States, and many of them played a role in helping us understand what the challenges are that they're facing, which Lisa went through, and how we might be able to help them solve those challenges. So I'll tell you a little bit more about how we're helping to solve those challenges specifically. So if we could go to the next slide, Annette. So I mentioned this is a national capability, and its goal is really to connect job seekers with employers and education providers to find the connect education seekers with employers and education providers to find the best education for them if they'd like to pursue a career in robotics. And as Lisa mentioned, and as we've seen time and time again, this is one of the top areas where manufacturers across the United States are looking for training and looking for skilled people is in this area. So it's an online platform that's accessible to anyone to use within the United States, and it maps at those advanced manufacturing robotic capabilities that Lisa just went through to these career pathways and education programs that are designed on the site itself. So again, it's more than just a site to get a listing of educational programs. There are many great sites that are out there today, but what this national capability provides is a mapping of those competencies and skills that manufacturers most desire whether the manufacturer is part of the U.S. Industrial base, whether they're supporting military needs, whether they're a small or medium-sized manufacturer. We've got a host of manufacturers in the United States, and one thing they do have in common is that they're struggling to find people with these skills. And again, this site is freely available. And when we get to the demo a little bit later, John will show you how those competencies and skills get mapped against the educational programs. And that's really what the content is. So we spent quite a bit of time working within our consortium to collect about 10,000 programs from about 12,000 organizations that are on the site today. And we're adding more on almost a daily basis. And again, this is, as you'll see in the demonstration soon, this is information about robotic training programs across the United States in all its various forms, whether it be online, whether it be in person, whether it be a hybrid class, whether there's equipment available at that training site. And one of the other benefits that we offer is that we really look at the training across all different ways to get recognition for that training, be it a micro-credential all the way up to a PhD. So it provides a lot of information about different types of courses based upon the education seeker's need or education seeker's budget, or whether education seeker may physically reside, as to what might be best available for them. The third component of this, and one that Linda will get into a little bit more detail, is our endorsement program. And that is where we want to work with an organization to go through a process where we can endorse and recognize them as meeting the criteria that manufacturers most want for these roles. And so Linda will take us through more detail on what that is in a few minutes. And that next slide. So again, this site is really designed to address these three audiences: the education seeker. And again, the education seeker could be somebody who is a high school student. They could be someone who is has been displaced as a result of COVID, perhaps, or is looking for a new career challenge somewhere in their whole career lifetime of working. It could be somebody who is either working in the military or has recently exited the military and wants to take their skills and see what other skills that may need to add to what they've developed already to make them successful to have a career working with robots in manufacturing. So we're really focused on all types of education seekers at all age ranges and in all different stages of their career path. The employers, again, are looking for an understanding of what educational resources are in their environment. Many of them, we found, unfortunately, are not aware of potentially the classes that trade schools or community colleges in their region may offer. And there's an opportunity for employers to use this information to be able to look for partnerships so that they can build stronger relationships and work together with that educational organization to help best prepare students for employment in their organization. And then last but absolutely not least are the education providers themselves. They are the ones whose content is on the site, whose listings about their educational programs are on the site right now. And we've given them a free opportunity to promote and to share what's on their site with the U.S. Marketplace, so that they can help solve this big challenge that Lisa talked about, which is this lack of unskilled labor, or labor with not the right skills to work with robotics in manufacturing. And that next slide, please. So why is it unique? Some of these points that I talked about, and again, we're very focused in this niche of advanced manufacturing, Industry 4.0, and the use of robotics for these very desired roles based on what we hear from industry. And as I mentioned before, it broadly identifies these programs ranging from micro-credentials all the way up to PhDs. And again, as I mentioned before, we're actually mapping those competency models and the types of roles that are necessary that people are looking for in robotics jobs with the education itself. And we are looking for those training programs that are truly best of the best to endorse those. And most importantly, we're a national capability from a national organization. And what that means is that we're here really to serve your needs and to help support your needs. as opposed to being tied to a specific industry, as an example. So we're really here to be a great national resource for you, for your organizations, to help skill your employees or help develop programs that skill employees. Next slide, please, Annette. So we have a roadmap. Today, as we've mentioned, we have some capabilities that are available. We've got the competency framework that Lisa touched on. We have thousands of robotics-specific educational programs that are available. We have the endorsement program that's available, and areas, and we have a defined career pathway with the 3 roles that Lisa talked about. What we're looking at adding as capabilities moving forward is extending that to look for areas where we might add additional value in assessments and credentialing, and where we might add additional value in what we call job matching and personal career tracking, which is now that you have the education that's needed or the education is recognized, how can we best help employees who are looking for these highly desired skills find the people who have those desired skills. And so as we look out over the next few years, these are some of the goals of what we'd like to add to provide value to this site. Next slide, please, Annette. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Linda, and she is going to speak a little bit more about our endorsement program.
Good afternoon, everyone. Linda Wood here. Yes, I'd like to give you a good overview of the ARM endorsement program. What we did is we sat down with our industry, academic, and government partners, and we created a group of metrics, 60 of them actually, that we look at educational programs through the lens of those 60 metrics, looking at those that are meeting those highest standards that were set by our consortium of industry members in robotics, and we align all those programs to our competency framework and our robotic career pathways. And if they're meeting those metrics, then they are endorsed by ARM. Next slide, please, Annette. So what is the value of gaining endorsement? First of all, you would get priority listing. In other words, if someone comes to our website and searches for a school providing them with a program in mechatronics, say, your program that is endorsed by ARM would rise to the very top of that list, providing you actually with a greater chance of having a lead and a student enroll in your school. Second of all, our auditors, myself and our auditing team, when you put in an application for the endorsement program, we go through a very complete audit of that program. And we then provide you with a detailed report showing you, evaluating your program and telling you those things that you're doing that are spot on and best in practice, as well as those areas where we find that there are opportunities open to your college to do a better job in creating these workers for industry in your own area. And then one of the things that you can earn as well by getting endorsed is being able to use the ARM endorsed logo on your marketing materials and your digital and print communications. Now, all programs are able to connect with interested audiences through roboticscareer.org, and all programs are able to help us build the workforce of the future. But it is those endorsed programs that gain additional value through our site by having that priority listing, going through the audit and having your program assessed and receiving that detailed report on your program, and then also a way to promote your endorsement. Next slide, please, Annette. So let's talk about those metrics. We do a very broad evaluation. As I said, there are 60 individual metrics that we look at in these 6 categories overall. The first category being relevance to the industry. We want to ensure that your program is actually relevant and maps directly to one or more of the building blocks on our competency framework. So we want to ensure that your class is actually preparing people to become a robotics technician, specialist, or integrator, and also that they have you're meeting current industry standards within that program, that you're not only teaching to, but you're teaching with the most up-to-date information. Next is our effective curriculum, and this is the area that has the most metrics involved in the program. First of all, what we do is we ensure, and we want to see evidence, that every educational program that earns the ARM endorsement badge assesses both knowledge and skill and ability within the program itself, that it is not just simply providing students with multiple choice tests, testing their knowledge, but they are also testing their ability to perform within those competency areas, and assessing that so that when they get to the manufacturing floor, they're ready to go. We also look and ensure that they're collecting statistical data regarding student performance, student placement, and the value that the program has with the industry members that they're collaborating with within their region. Last and not least, we do ensure that every program we endorse has been accredited by one of the United States government's authorized agencies. Next, we look at the efficiency of that training. And by this, we mean, is the amount of time spent in the program indicative of the type of credential that is earned upon completion of your program? In other words, we don't want to endorse a 3-month program that says they offer an associate's degree at the end. Obviously, an associate's degree requires far more training than just simply 3 months. But then on the other hand, we don't want anyone going through 2 years worth of training and getting a badge or a certificate of completion at the end of that. We'd like to see that there's more in it for the learner. We also want to ensure that the cost of the training is relative to the amount of money that an incumbent worker or a student can afford, and that scholarships and supplements to your financial aid are actually available for students. The next thing we look at is the impact of that program, and we look at that impact on local industry. And the way that we gauge that is by actually having the educational program send out a survey to their industry partners and receive back data that they can then aggregate and show us at our full review meeting. But we want to make sure that the impact is across diverse populations within their region, as well as that both the educational organization and industry are working together in order to provide these well-paying jobs within their economical region. Program sustainability. We do not want to put our name against a company that could be here today and gone tomorrow and leave their students with unsurmountable debt and nothing to show for it. So we do look at the financial resources that are available to this institution. We ensure that they are both financially secure as well as fiscally responsible, that they are updating their programs continually, and that the instructors are required to attend professional development within the area of their class, their curriculum. We want to ensure that instructors are continually keeping up with all of the new advances in technology. It happens quickly. So often I've seen syllabi that were amazing syllabi to take us through a year, that 2 different emerging technologies came through in the year that changed that syllabus. And so it's important that we're able to keep up and make sure that the people coming out of our educational institutions are truly gaining knowledge in advanced manufacturing and these new emerging technologies. Last but not least is the transportability of that knowledge. First of all, does your educational institution provide credit to people coming into the institution, not only for academic credits previously earned, but also for certificates and on-the-job training that have previously been earned, pardon me. We want to ensure that people are able to get credit for the experience that they've had throughout their lives. Number two, we also want to see that there are articulation agreements in place for furthering education once they leave your particular institution. Next slide, please, Annette. All of our endorsement auditors have come from industry and are industry experts. The endorsement program is led by myself, the Senior Certification Manager here at ARM. I have over 40 years of experience at this point in the military, in education, as well as in manufacturing. I actually worked for 3 separate small and medium manufacturers throughout the course of my career. We also have 3 gentlemen, 2 of which have both worked for robotic integrators as well as robotic manufacturers. We have people who are from the field of education and hold PhDs in that area, as well as we have people that are running their own businesses and creating jobs within the manufacturing and robotic industry. So we do have a highly trained and skilled industry experts acting as our endorsement auditors. Next slide, please, Annette. So what's different about our program? A lot of the programs that are out there, when you hear of an endorsement program or some kind of educational auditing program, normally what their focus is the educational elements of that program. ARM takes that extra step, and not only do we review each syllabi to ensure that the educational level is appropriate for the level of the course, but we also look that the needs of industry are being identified and taught to throughout this educational course through hands-on skill attainment and assessment. We want to see that there is industry input to your program curriculum. We want to see that your advisory committees are actually providing you with information and input that you're using in creating these programs for industry. And then we also want to see that industry credentials are being earned by people that go through your program. Those are very important elements that you must achieve in order to earn the ARM endorsement. Next slide, please, Annette. So how is it that you apply? Well, the very first thing that you have to do is ensure that your program is actually listed at roboticscareer.org. So if you are an educational institution in our audience today, look for yourself on our website and ensure that the programs that are there are listed correctly, and that we have actually mapped all of the competencies that your program offers correctly on our website. Once you've done that, you just go ahead and fill out the endorsement application on our website. Once you have completed that and submitted the fees at the end, it then becomes, I receive an email actually that tells me that you have completed an application. I will then assign an auditor, pardon me. That auditor will get to work within a week reviewing your application for endorsement, and then send to you an initial application report, set up a meeting where we'll talk about that initial review. There may be additional information that we ask you for at that time, or we may just move you strictly right on to our full review. And at our full review, we will take a look at We will have you send out and compile aggregate results of both student and industry surveys. We want to take a look at the equipment that you're actually using within the curriculum for this program. We want to see it. We want to see your classroom space and ensure that there is truly room there for hands-on both learning and assessment going on within your program. Once you've met all of those, you then earn the ARM endorsement, and that is good for 3 years. One of the things we ask is that you provide us with yearly data upload, and there is an administrative fee that you pay on a yearly basis. And then once every 3 years, we do another deep dive on the program to ensure that you're still meeting your industry needs within your area, as well as that students are still satisfied with your program, and that the data and the marketing efforts that you're collecting and sending to ARM are continuing to meet the needs of industry in the robotics educational world. So we do ask also that you provide ARM with any significant changes to the program as we go through the 3-year renewal period. Next slide, please, Annette. Now it is time for all of you to actually get a chance to see roboticcareer.org. And so I'm going to turn it over to our partner, John Zappa, and he's going to take you on a demonstration of the site.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, well, hello everyone. Glad you can join us today. See if I can share my screen here. Can someone let me know if you see my screen? Okay. So I'm going to give you a brief tour of this site. So let's go back. Okay. So this is the roboticscareer.org website. You can see the search figures prominently. We're all about connecting folks to the right programs. But there's a couple other elements on here I would like to show you briefly. As we saw earlier, there's elements that speak to different audiences that may be accessing the site. And I know Susie covered that a bit earlier. We also have the information about the specific career paths that we talked about as well, how those paths have a sequence, if you will, and then the specific competencies associated with each of those paths as well, along with the essential skills. And we'll see more of those as we actually start searching on the website. So I'm going to come back here to the main landing page, and I'm going to do a search here, and I'm going to look for let's say I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, and I want to know what are the robotics programs near me. So I'll do a quick search on those. And you can see the map is displaying that section. And I have a list of programs on my left-hand side here that show me what programs are in Huntsville that have robotics associated with them. And this is a nice mix. I can see here this first program essentially is a short-term certificate offered by one of the community colleges, in robotics and mechatronics, actually very applied. We have here an associate degree offered by a technical college in the community. Further along, another associate program. And then I actually have a bachelor's degree program offered by a local university. And so you can see there's a rich set of programs that are available to me, even within my own community. If we select one of these programs, we can see, for instance, at the community college here, Calhoun Community College, we see that this is an on-site program. It offers an associate degree. It's geared for students new to manufacturing, and the program length is 2 years. There's a brief description about the program. I can, in fact, link out to the college catalog and get some additional information if I want on that program. And there's additional information, of course, on the organization itself, the college itself. And this is the competencies. So if I pursue this program of study, these are the actual competencies I will gain as a result. And of course, the soft skills that come with the program as well. So this is when we talk about the common language that links the programs to the needs of industry, this is the common language right here that we're showing. If I'm interested in the program or I want to learn more, I can just contact the individuals associated directly with this program for more information about it. So that's a nice little way for me as a prospective student to learn a little bit more information. So one of the other things that we see that's out there, I'm going to do a much broader search. And in fact, I'm actually searching the entire database right now. Show me all the programs that are out there. And you can see the map is filled out pretty nicely there across the United States. And I can see as well there's over 10,000 programs right now, according to where we are today. This is the dynamic database. And something interesting I want to draw your attention to, Linda just talked to us about the endorsement program. And you'll note that the endorsed programs actually come to the top of this search results. So if there's, since I chose the whole US, I'm seeing the endorsed programs that are available to me. And of course, I can click on those and learn additional information as well. But you can see it has that, if you will, that stamp of approval from ARM, because we know that that organization has gone through the endorsement process. So nice way to get a sense of which ones stand out. I could also, if I wanted to, just search from the map directly. So for instance, I'm broadcasting to you here from just outside of Pittsburgh. So I can scroll in on the map and I can start to see which programs are available near me. And I can see them again listed on the left here of which programs. And so it's yet a different way to find information. I can actually get to that same information by just saying, show me programs near me, and apply that filter. And you see that it's, again, doing a little geo search around my particular neighborhood, which is helpful to give me a sense of what's in easy access around my location. Now, there's also the ability, if you're an individual that's looking for internships, we actually have internships as well on here. And I'm going to do a quick search for those. And I can see across the US, these are education providers or companies that have an internship associated with, connected back to robotics. So I can start to see some of the programs that are out there. Same kind of thing if I want to zoom in on a particular area and see it in more depth. I can see here, this is interesting, 3M company has corporate engineering internships, so I can, in fact, learn more about those as well, too, and I can link right out to those. So it's a nice way to get connected to not just formal education, but education as a pathway, if you will. The last thing I'd like to just show you briefly is if you are an education provider and you want to know, are we listed on here? And again, we are listing programs both from what you would consider a traditional education, whether you're a 4-year degree granting institution or a community college, a technical college, a trade school. We have some high school STEM programs that are on here that meet the criteria. And so there's a rich set of options available. We also have employer programs. So employers that offer training that has a robotics, that teaches one or more robotics competencies and it's available, those are listed as well. So if your organization, you want to know, are we listed? A real quick way you can determine that is you just come here to these additional filters and you look at the list and you can see this is the entire list of organizations that have content listed on here, if you will. So I can again pick one of these, search for that, and I want to see, I'm at Alabama A&M University in Huntsville. I want to know what programs are here. I can click on this, and in fact, if I click on the organization tab, I can learn more about Alabama A&M. And in fact, here's a whole page on Alabama A&M that has the programs that are offered, and I can see some of the contact information. So it's a quick way to verify, is our organization listed on this? So again, whether you're an education seeker or an institution providing some sort of training program, it's a great way for you to be able to get connected in. So I'm going to, at this point, turn it back to Lisa. So let me just stop sharing my screen. Just give me a second.
Yeah, and while
While
John
you're doing that,
Yeah, I was just going to say, while John is doing that, if you don't find your organization on the site, you can certainly request to have it added. And at the top of the site, there's a For Organizations tab. We encourage anybody in the audience who doesn't have content on the site to please add it to the site. And our goal is to make it as easy for you to do that too. So while John's not going to walk through that process of creating your own account, you certainly have the opportunity, if your content is on the site, to manage that account, and if your content is not on the site, to add that.
There you go. Okay. Annette, I've made you host, and Lisa, back to you. Thank you all.
all right, thank you. I wanted to just express to everybody today how excited we are to introduce you to the roboticscareer.org platform and all of the capabilities that comes with it. Our key vision is to have a powerful workforce, not just for today, but for the future, as well as a instrument that can support both our industrial base and our government partners. And we want to be able to empower our next generation of the workforce across the whole supply chain. This is a great way to help students find the right programs, as well as employers to help find the right talent. And so therefore, we're able to take these valuable programs, and we're going to continue to build more highly trained workforce through them finding the programs that work for them. And it's ultimately to enable a thriving industry. And so I want to reiterate what Susie said. Please make sure, if you are a training provider, that all of your training programs get in here. It does not cost you anything. It's a way for you to get great exposure and for us to start to or continue to solidify that national footprint of all of the robotic training programs. And I wanted to make sure that we leave a few minutes for any questions. If you wanted to put anything in the chat box, we would be thrilled to talk to you either today or on a private call about how we might be able to make this work best for you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lisa. First, I want to apologize for the beginning of the webinar today. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties starting off today, but hopefully the webinar was useful to everyone. There were a couple questions. We do have a few minutes left to ask a few questions. We have a couple questions that are related to available jobs. And maybe John, if you might want to start talking about that area, whether or not jobs are available on the website. You mentioned internships. I think maybe some people are thinking that there are like maybe current internships that are available, and whether or not there are like all jobs that are available on the website. And then also if there's anything that shows maybe even statistically or locally or nationally, like any of the trends or jobs that are available on like a national statistic.
How about if I take the first part of that question, and perhaps one of my peers can address the second
Sure.
part in terms of the trends. But very specifically, what I showed was internship programs, and they aren't specific internships. They are education providers that have internships established with employers. And so that's what you can search on and see which schools already have an established relationship with, let's say, perhaps a local employer. It also has and includes in that, I think, 150 plus internships. Organizations such as 3M, we saw, and other employers that actually have a formalized internship program. So the actual Internship listings aren't posted, but it gets you connected to the avenue of how to find them. In terms of job listings per se, that's something we're looking at in terms of part of our own roadmap and the ability to bring more value to this national capability, and certainly evaluating how can we, again, bring this whole competency model to job descriptions and those career paths, and incorporating that into future development.
Okay. Okay, and as far as the trends, that could be information that we provide down the road, or even if you go on to our arminstitute.org site, you might see some of the robotic trends that we're recognizing from our institute. But that might be something that you might want to look between the two sites for more information. Another question that we have is about what type of relationship or partnership do you have with the government? Lisa?
So as a national institute, we are sponsored by the Department of Defense. Our key goal for the roboticscareer.org suite of capabilities is to ensure that the Department of Defense is able to use it, and that we're leveraging all of the, if you will, employment or training sites that they have. That's one of the distinct next steps that we will be taking. As it currently resides, a lot of the requirements that were put into the competencies that I showed, as well as the overall requirements, the government and some of their union representatives feeding into the workforce have been really, really key in putting the requirements together. But we want to make sure that we're leveraging everything that the Department of Defense needs, as well as all of the services across the government.
Okay, we're running out of time. We'll just do one more question. And I think it's related to the career path. And this person is saying that they're interested in doing something with robotics, but they're not sure which degrees or programs they need to realize this career. So where can I look for more information on educational paths?
We would be happy to have a private conversation with you, but you are able to find that in roboticscareer.org. So when you go into it, you'll be able to look at the competencies at the foundational and specialized and integrator levels. It sounds to me like you would probably be looking at some of the foundational competencies. You've got to look and see where your innate desires and your own background would bring you in, and then you would be able to start to look for training programs immediately. And if you need handholding, again, we would be thrilled to have a private conversation to see how we can help you get started.
Yeah, at any time, if you need help, you can just send an email to support@roboticscareer.org, and we're happy to respond to you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we're out of time. Thanks so much, Lisa, Susie, Linda, and John. And I hope that the webinar today was very helpful in understanding this new capability, and that it meets your needs for finding careers and opportunities in robotics. So with that, we will end, and thank you so much for joining us today.